So we talked about this just last week when you showed me a clip of the one championship fighters. I think you brought up fighters who compete at their natural way, in terms of performance, have a much better performance on game day because they're not fucking with their body that much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you could make that argument.
Yeah.
Certainly because of brain damage and trauma.
Yeah.
If you're diluting, you're getting rid of water out of your body. You know, also the water's got to come from somewhere, and you know you could argue it could be damaging your brain.
Yeah.
And perhaps you're kind of decreasing the amount of fluid, your cerebrospinal fluid, for actual knocking your brain about in your skull. So a lot of people consider that if you're very depleted the next day, even though you've rehydrated, you've still put your body through a fucking bit of trauma to get down there in the sauna. You can make the argument for Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Can take a fucking hit at lightweight, but at featherweight,
it
didn't take much. Gilbert Burns was that lightweight. He's moved up to welterweight. Take a shot. You know, and we'll talk about that later on with Gilbert Burns. But I would make the argument that if they're cutting too much weight, it's noticeable.
Yeah,
it's noticeable when they cut too much weight, and I think they know themselves that they probably can't take the same punishment, and that's why one championship is really good. It's safe and it's the correct way to do things.
I mean, I feel like obviously because you have less water in your system and you don't have enough time to rehydrate, your body is more fragile, more prone to injury. You know what I mean? You can't absorb it as much. So that's obviously got to be a factor.
It's certainly harder now that they banned the IV quite a few years ago, and the IV meant that they could rehydrate very quickly, get plenty of electrolytes and flush all that in there. But they banned the IV, and now.
Let me ask you a question, Jack. Do you think they should bring it back?
No.
You don't think they should bring it back? Why don't you think they should bring it back?
I think there's some pros and cons to extreme cutting.
Okay.
The cons are exactly what we spoke about, was when they cut too much weight and they succeed, then when they're on fight night, they're in a depleted state, they can't take the same shots, and perhaps their energy level isn't the same, right? You do have like so many hours to rehydrate, but if you put your body through days and days of cutting weight and dieting down to just hit that specific number, and it's really, really difficult, you can't imagine just a day after you're going to be fucking perfect. It's not going to happen. Yeah. But when they do extreme cuts and they fail to get there, I think that's good. Because if they hit the weight and if they hit the weight, right? Let's say you're cutting to 145 and you just hit 145 or 146 if it's not a championship fight, right? And afterwards, you're slowing your words. You can't walk straight. You're rehydrated, but you're not right? Yeah. And your coaches are going like that. We can't do it. Yeah. Right? Maybe if he was on an IV bag, you can make the argument maybe he could be all right like that. But really, he should not be fighting.
I don't think they will absorb it that quickly, but I still feel like an IV bag will still give him some form of benefit to it. But I don't think it gives you to 100% capacity.
It's just fast. It's very fast. It's very fast to get the fluids back in your body quickly. It's just when Max Holloway tried to cut weight at one point. I'm forgetting the fight. I'm blanking.
Okay.
But do you remember that he was slurring his words?
Yeah.
He wasn't right, and they had to pull him out.
Khabib or something, wasn't it?
Was it Khabib?
Yeah, meant to fight Khabib, and then what happened was
did Dustin get put in? No.
No. I think he was meant to fight Khabib, but he ended up he had a whole bunch of people pulled out before the fight and all that, and then what else was happening was he went on an interview, and then I think what's it called? Michael Bisping, what's kind of guy?
Yes.
And then he was like, "You're all right, man. What's going on? You seem a little tired." And he's just, it's just a weight cut. And then really what he was suffering from was concussion, symptoms of a concussion. And a lot of it was because of the weight cut, really. So I feel like, I'm pretty sure they put it out there. If you're cutting water, you're more prone to concussions.
Yeah.
That's why what a lot of fighters do nowadays is they actually like to take creatine before a fight because it holds on to water. So they've already made weight and they need to hold on to that water now. So it's meant to really at least minimize the effects of the concussion.
It's hard with creatine because usually you've got to build up how much creatine you've had in your system for it to have the positive effect. If you've only got like a day or two,
it's not much.
I can't imagine it can make that much unless you're consuming so much creatine.
Yeah.